Zoe and Zach Washington woke up at 4:30 in the morning. Today was a big day. The 17-year-old twins had been planning this trip for months. They were going to visit Columbia University in New York, their dream school. Both had straight A's and were at the top of their class at Denver Central High School. Columbia had invited them for a special campus tour only given to the best students who might attend next year. Their father, Marcus Washington, knocked softly on Zach's door. "You kids up? We need to leave in 30 minutes to get to the airport. On time." "We're up, Dad," Zach called out, his voice still rough with sleep. He looked across the hallway and saw Zoe already dressed, checking her backpack one last time. Marcus smiled at his children with pride. He had raised them alone since their mother died when they were 10. It hadn't been easy, but watching them grow into smart, kind young adults made every hard day worth it. As the CEO of Washington Global Investments, Marcus often worked long hours, but he never missed an important moment in his children's lives. "I wish I could come with you," Marcus said as he helped them load their suitcases into the car. This board meeting couldn't be moved. "Dad, we'll be fine," Zoe said, rolling, her eyes but smiling. "We've flown by ourselves before." I know, Marcus laughed. "Just let your old man worry a little." The drive to Denver International Airport was quiet. The twins were both nervous and excited about their trip. This visit could shape their future. The early morning sky was just turning from black to deep blue as they pulled up to the departure area. "Call me when you land," Marcus said, hugging them both. "And good luck. Columbia would be lucky to have you too." "Thanks, Dad," the twins said together. Marcus watched them walk into the airport, pulling their suitcases behind them. He felt the familiar mix of worry and pride that came with being a parent. Then he got back in his car and drove to his office. He had a long day ahead of him. Inside the airport, Zoe and Zach made their way to the check-in counter. They had arrived 3 hours early, just as their father had taught them. "Always give yourself extra time," he would say. "You never know what might happen." The airport was not very busy this early. Only a few people stood in line at the airline counter. The twins got in line, talking about what classes they might take if they got into Columbia. "Next," called the woman at the counter. Her name tag read Diane Miller. She looked tired and bored. Zoe and Zach stepped up to the counter together. "Good morning," Zoe said with a smile. "We're checking in for the 8:45 flight to New York." Diane looked at them with no expression. "IDs and boarding passes, please." The twins handed over their driver's licenses and the boarding passes they had printed at home. Diane looked at their IDs for a long time. Then she frowned. "How old are you?" "2?" she asked, looking back and forth between them and their IDs. "We're 17, Zach said. "We'll be 18 in December." Diane shook her head. "I'm sorry, but you can't fly alone. You have to be 18 to fly without an adult." Zoe blinked in surprise. "That's not right. We've flown this airline before. Just last year we flew to visit our grandma in Chicago by ourselves." "Well, the policy must have changed," Diane said, sliding their IDs back across the counter. "You need to be 18 to fly alone. Those are the rules." Zach pulled out his phone. "I can check the airline website right now. I'm sure there's no such rule." "Young man, I've worked here for 15 years. I know the rules," Diane said, her voice getting sharper. "Now please step aside. There are other people waiting." "But we have to get to New York today," Zoe said, trying to stay calm. "We have a campus tour at Columbia University tomorrow morning. It's very important." "That's not my problem," Diane said. She looked past them to the next person in line. "Next, please." The twins didn't move. "Can we speak to your manager?" Zach asked. Diane sighed loudly. "Fine, wait here." She picked up a phone and spoke quietly into it. While they waited, Zoe and Zach noticed something strange. 2 white teenagers, who looked about their age, walked up to another check-in counter. The airline worker there checked them in quickly with no questions. They got their boarding passes and walked away, laughing together. "Did you see that?" Zoe whispered to her brother. Zach nodded, his face serious. "Yeah, I did." A few minutes later, a man in a suit walked over. His name tag said Kevin Porter, supervisor. "What seems to be the problem?" he asked, looking at Diane rather than the twins. "These two want to fly alone, but they're only 17, Diane explained. I told them they need to be 18 to fly without an adult." Kevin nodded without looking at their IDs. "Yes, that's our policy. I'm sorry, but you'll need a parent or guardian to fly with you." "That's not what your website says," Zach said firmly, "and we've flown this airline by ourselves before with no problems." "Rules change," Kevin said with a shrug. "And rules are rules." "Can you at least check your computer or call someone to make sure?" Zoe asked. "Our dad paid a lot for these tickets, and we really need to get to New York today." "Young lady, I don't have time for this," Kevin said, his voice getting cold. "The answer is no. You can't fly today without an adult. Now please step aside." Zoe felt tears of frustration building in her eyes. Zach put his hand on her shoulder and led her away from the counter. "This isn't right," he said quietly. "We need to call Dad." They moved to a quiet corner near the windows. The sun was now rising over the airport, turning the sky pink and gold. It would have been beautiful if they weren't so upset. Zach pulled out his phone and called their father. Marcus answered on the second ring. "Dad, we have a problem," Zach said. "They won't let us on the plane. They say we're too young to fly alone." "What?" "That's not right," Marcus said. Zach could hear papers shuffling as his father stopped what he was doing. "Put me on speaker." Zach held the phone between himself and Zoe. "Zoe, are you there too?" Marcus asked. "Yes, Dad," she said, her voice shaking a little. "The lady at the counter says we have to be 18 to fly alone, and then her boss came and said the same thing." "Did you show them your IDs?" Marcus asked. "Yes," Zach said. "They know we're 17, but they said the rules changed and now you have to be 18. "That's simply not true," Marcus said. His voice was calm, but the twins could hear the anger underneath. "I reviewed all the airline policies before booking your tickets. There is no such rule. We saw other teenagers going through with no problems," Zoe added. "They didn't get stopped or questioned at all." There was silence on the other end of the phone. The twins knew their father was thinking. "Okay," Marcus finally said. "Here's what we're going to do. Go back to the counter. Ask for the supervisor again." "What was his name?" "Kevin Porter," Zach said. "Ask for Kevin. Tell him you want to speak to the station manager. That's his boss. And put me on speaker when they come." The twins walked back to the counter. Several more people had checked in while they were gone. They waited in line again, watching the minutes tick by. Their flight was now less than 2 hours away. When they reached the counter, a different worker was there. The twins asked for Kevin Porter. The worker made a call, and a few minutes later, Kevin came out again, looking annoyed. "We'd like to speak to the station manager, please," Zoe said politely. "The station manager is very busy," Kevin said. "I've already explained the policy to you." "We have our father on the phone," Zach said, holding up the phone. "He'd like to speak with the station manager." Kevin rolled his eyes but took the phone. "Hello, this is Kevin Porter, supervisor on duty." "Hello, Kevin. This is Marcus Washington, CEO of Washington Global Investments and father of the two young people you're refusing to let board their flight." Kevin's face changed. Everyone in the airline industry knew Washington Global Investments. They owned large parts of several airlines, including this one. "Mr. Washington," Kevin said, his voice suddenly much nicer. "There seems to be a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," Marcus cut in. "My children are being denied boarding against your own published policies. I want to speak to the station manager right now." "Of course, sir. Right away, sir." Kevin handed the phone back to the twins and hurried away. The twins looked at each other, small smiles forming on their faces. Their father was going to fix this, and someone was about to be in big trouble. Zoe and Zach waited by the counter, watching Kevin rush away to find the station manager. Other passengers stared at them with curious looks. Some seemed annoyed at the delay. Others looked sympathetic. "Do you think we'll still make our flight?" Zoe whispered to her brother. Zach checked his watch. We have an hour and 40 minutes. We should be okay if they stop giving us trouble. 5 minutes later, a woman in a crisp blue suit walked quickly toward them. Her name tag read, Patricia Jones, station manager. Kevin followed behind her, looking nervous. You must be the Washington twins, Patricia said with a wide smile that didn't reach her eyes. I understand there's been some confusion about your travel today. Yes, Zach said, holding up the phone. Our father is on the line. Patricia took the phone. Mr. Washington, this is Patricia Jones, station manager at Denver International. I want to personally apologize for any misunderstanding. The twins couldn't hear what their father said, but Patricia's smile dropped. Her face turned serious as she listened. Yes, sir, I understand completely, she said after a moment. You're absolutely right. Our policy does allow 17-year-old to travel unaccompanied. I don't know why this incorrect information was given to your children. She listened again, nodding. Yes, sir, of course. I'll handle it myself. She handed the phone back to Zach. Dad, Zach said. I'm still here, Marcus replied. His voice was calm but firm. Patricia's going to check you in personally now, but this isn't over. What happened to you wasn't right, and I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. Thanks, Dad, Zoe said, leaning close to the phone. Call me when you land. In New York, Marcus said. Have a good flight. I love you both. Love you too, Dad, the twins said together before hanging up. Patricia turned to Kevin with a hard look. I need to see you in my office later. Then she faced the twins with a much friendlier expression. Let's get you checked in right away. She led them to a special counter marked Priority. She took their IDs and quickly typed on her computer. I've upgraded you both to first class, she said, printing their boarding passes. And you'll have access to our VIP lounge before your flight. Is there anything else I can do to make this up to you? No, thank you, Zach said. We just want to get to New York for our Columbia visit. Patricia nodded. Of course, again, I'm so sorry for the trouble. I'll personally make sure your bags get priority handling. 10 minutes later, the twins were through security and sitting in the VIP lounge. Soft music played in the background. Comfortable chairs and free food surrounded them. But they didn't feel like celebrating. Did you notice how fast everything changed once Dad said who he was? Zoe asked quietly. Zach nodded. Yeah. Suddenly we were important. But what about people who don't have a CEO dad? Zoe wondered. What happens to them when they get treated unfairly? Zach had no answer for that. Meanwhile, Marcus Washington sat in his office, thinking hard about what had just happened to his children. The board meeting he was supposed to lead would start in 15 minutes, but this was more important. Marcus picked up his phone and called the airline's corporate headquarters. This is Marcus Washington. I need to speak with Alan Green. Alan was the CEO of the airline. The secretary tried to explain that Mr. Green was in meetings all day. Marcus cut her off. Tell him it's about Washington Global Investments possibly selling our 20% stake in his company. He'll take my call. 2 minutes later, Alan Green was on the line. Marcus, what's this about selling your shares? Is something wrong? Yes. Alan, something is very wrong, Marcus said. My 17-year-old twins were just denied boarding at Denver International. Your staff falsely claimed they were too young to fly alone. That doesn't sound right, Alan said, confusion in his voice. Our policy allows— I know what your policy allows, Marcus interrupted. The question is, do your employees know? And more importantly, do they apply the rules equally to everyone? What do you mean? Alan asked. My children are black, Alan. They watched white teenagers their age check in with no problems while they were being turned away. There was silence on the other end of the line. I see, Alan finally said. Marcus, I'm truly sorry this happened. I'll look into it right away. I expect more than looking into it, Marcus said. I want a full investigation. I want to know if this is a pattern, and I want changes to make sure it doesn't happen again. Of course, Alan agreed quickly. I'll handle it personally. Good, Marcus said. Because Washington Global is watching closely. This isn't just about my kids, Alan, it's about doing what's right. After hanging up, Marcus called his assistant, Jack, into his office. "I need you to postpone the board meeting. Something important has come up?" Jack nodded. "No problem. Should I tell them what it's about?" Marcus thought for a moment. "Yes. Tell them I'm dealing with a case of possible discrimination against my children. They'll understand." Jack left, and Marcus turned to his computer. He typed an email to his legal team, explaining what had happened and asking them to look into similar cases involving the airline. Then he sent another email to his media relations director, Lisa Chen. "Lisa, I need information on discrimination complaints against major airlines over the past 5 years, particularly cases involving young black passengers. This is urgent." While waiting for responses, Marcus called the Denver Airport Security Office. Using his influence as a major investor, he requested copies of the security camera footage from the check-in area during the time his children were there. He wanted to see exactly what had happened. By noon, Marcus had reports from both his legal team and Lisa. The news was troubling. There were dozens of similar stories about the airline. Black passengers, especially young ones, were questioned more often, had their IDs checked more carefully, and faced more obstacles than white passengers. The security footage arrived by email. Marcus watched it carefully. He could clearly see Diane questioning his children for several minutes while other teenage passengers were checked in quickly at other counters. The evidence was clear. Marcus leaned back in his chair, thinking. He could sue the airline. He could sell Washington Global's shares and hurt their stock price. He could go to the media with this story, but none of those options would fix the real problem. What Marcus wanted was change. Real, lasting change that would protect other families from facing what his children had faced. He picked up his phone again and called Alan Green back. "Alan, I've been reviewing some troubling information about your airline's treatment of minority passengers." "Marcus, Let me finish," Marcus said firmly. "I don't want money. I don't want free flights. What I want is for your company to acknowledge there's a problem and take real steps to fix it." "What kind of steps?" Alan asked. "I have some ideas," Marcus said. "But first, I want your commitment that you're serious about making changes." "You have it," Alan said quickly. "The last thing we want is to discriminate against any passengers." "Good," Marcus said. "Then here's what I propose." Back in the VIP lounge, Zoe and Zach heard their flight being called for boarding. They gathered their things and walked to the gate. "First-class passengers may board now," the gate agent announced. The twins joined the short line. When they reached the agent, she smiled warmly at them. "Enjoy your flight to New York." As they walked down the jet bridge to the plane, Zach's phone buzzed with a text from their father. "You were right to stand up for yourselves. I'm proud of you both. When you get back, we'll talk about how to turn what happened today into something positive for others." Zoe read the message over her brother's shoulder. "Dad's not just going to let this go, is he?" Zach shook his head. "Not a chance. You know how he is when something isn't fair." They found their first-class seats and settled in. The seats were wide and comfortable, much nicer than they were used to. A flight attendant offered them drinks even before the plane took off. "This is nice," Zoe admitted, "but it doesn't make what happened okay." "No," Zach agreed, "but maybe Dad will make sure it doesn't happen to someone else next time." As the plane began to move away from the gate, both twins looked out the window at the airport growing smaller below them. They were on their way to visit their dream school. But they had just learned a lesson no classroom could teach them about privilege, power, and the responsibility that comes with both. The twins landed in New York at 2:15 in the afternoon. The flight had been smooth and the first-class seats made the journey comfortable. As they waited for their bags, Zach called their father. "Dad, we made it," he said when Marcus answered. "Good," Marcus replied. "How was the flight?" "It was fine," Zoe said, leaning close to the phone. "The flight attendants were super nice to us." "I bet they were," Marcus said with a small laugh. "Listen, kids, I've been busy while you were in the air. I talked to the airline's CEO, Alan Green. He's taking this very seriously." "What did he say?" Zach asked. "He apologized, of course," Marcus said. "But I made it clear that apologies aren't enough. I want action. The twins' bags appeared on the carousel. They grabbed them and headed outside to find a taxi. "So what happens now?" Zoe asked as they walked. "I'm meeting with Alan and his team next week," Marcus explained. "But I'm not going alone. I've been doing research and I found some other families who had similar experiences with this airline. I've invited them to join us." "Wow, Dad," Zach said, impressed. "You've been busy. This isn't just about you two," Marcus said. "Though seeing my children treated unfairly makes me very angry. This is about changing a system that treats people differently based on how they look." The twins found a taxi and gave the driver the address of their hotel. As they drove through the busy streets of New York, they continued their conversation with their father. "I wish I could be there with you for your Colombia visit," Marcus said. "But I know you'll do great. Call me tomorrow and tell me all about it." "We will, Dad," Zoe promised. "And thanks for helping us today." "Always," Marcus said simply. "Now go enjoy New York. You've earned it." After hanging up, the twins sat back and watched the city pass by outside the taxi windows. Tall buildings reached up to the sky all around them. People of all kinds walked quickly on the sidewalks. "I love this city," Zoe said. "It feels alive." Zach nodded. "If we get into Colombia, we'll be living here next year." The thought excited and scared them both. Back in Denver, Marcus was not done with his day's work. After talking with his children, he called Lisa Chen, his media relations director, into his office. "Lisa, I need your help with something important," he said, as she sat down across from his desk. "Of course," Lisa replied. "Is this about what happened to Zoe and Zach?" Marcus nodded. "Yes. I've been thinking about how to handle this. My first instinct was to be angry, to punish the airline by selling our shares or going to the media with the story. That would certainly hurt them," Lisa agreed. "But it wouldn't solve the real problem," Marcus said. "What happened to my kids happens to people every day who don't have my connections or resources." Lisa leaned forward, interested. "What do you have in mind?" "I want to use this situation to create real change," Marcus explained. "Not just at this one airline, but across the industry." He showed her the emails and reports he had collected about similar cases. There were dozens of stories of black passengers, especially young ones, being treated differently than white passengers. "This is a pattern," Lisa said as she read through the reports. "Not just at this airline, but at many of them." "Exactly," Marcus said. "And that's why I want to approach this differently. Instead of just threatening the airline, I want to work with them to fix the problem." Lisa looked surprised. "You think they'll cooperate?" "They will if the alternative is worse," Marcus said with a small smile. "I've already talked to Alan Green. He's scared. He knows this could be a huge scandal if it gets out. But I've offered him a better option, which is a chance to be a leader in changing how the airline industry treats minority passengers, to set an example that other companies will have to follow." Lisa thought about this for a moment. "That's smart. Instead of just punishing them, you're giving them a chance to do the right thing and look good doing it." "Exactly," Marcus said. "But I need your help to make it work." Together, they spent the next few hours creating a plan. They would invite the airline's executives to a meeting. They would bring other families who had faced similar discrimination, and they would propose specific changes that the airline could make to address the problem. "We need to be careful about how we present this," Lisa advised. "If they feel attacked, they'll get defensive." "I agree," Marcus said. "That's why I'm not going to the media yet. I want to give them a chance to do the right thing first." By the end of the day, they had a solid plan. Marcus felt better knowing he was taking action. He couldn't change what had happened to Zoe and Zach, but he could try to make sure it didn't happen to other families in the future. Meanwhile, in New York, the twins checked into their hotel. It was a nice place near Columbia University. After always freshening up, they decided to explore the neighborhood where they might be living next year. They walked the busy streets, taking in the sights and sounds of the city. They found a small pizza place and went in for an early dinner. "Do you think Dad is really going to change how airlines treat people?" Zoe asked as they ate. Zach thought about it. If anyone can do it, Dad can. He doesn't give up when he believes in something. I just keep thinking about what would have happened if we couldn't call Dad, Zoe said. What if we were just regular kids with no connections? We probably wouldn't have made it on the plane, Zach admitted. And no one would have cared. They finished their pizza in silence, both thinking about how differently their day could have gone. As they walked back to their hotel, Zach's phone rang. It was an unknown number. He answered cautiously. Hello? Is this Zach Washington? A woman's voice asked. Yes, who's this? My name is Tanya Roberts. I'm a reporter with the New York Times. I understand you and your sister had some trouble at the Denver airport today. Zach stopped walking. Zoe looked at him with concern. How did you hear about that? Zach asked. News travels fast, Tanya said, especially when it involves the children of Marcus Washington. I'd love to talk to you and your sister about what happened. Zach covered the phone and whispered to Zoe. It's a reporter. She knows about what happened at the airport. Zoe's eyes widened. What should we do? Dad hasn't said anything about talking to reporters. Zach uncovered the phone. Ms. Roberts, I think you should talk to our father about this. We don't have any comment right now. I understand, Tanya said, but this is an important story. People should know what happened to you. Maybe, Zach said, but we need to talk to our dad first. Goodbye. He hung up. Immediately, he called Marcus. When his father answered, Zach explained about the reporter's call. Marcus sighed. I was afraid this might happen. Someone at the airline must have talked. What should we do? Zoe asked. Don't talk to any reporters for now, Marcus advised. This is already becoming bigger than I expected. Let me handle it. After they hung up, the twins walked back to their hotel in silence. Their trip to visit Columbia suddenly seemed less important. Something bigger was happening, and they were at the center of it. Do you still want to go to the campus tour tomorrow? Zach asked as they reached their hotel. Zoe nodded firmly. Yes, we didn't come all this way to miss it. Whatever's happening with the airline, we still have our future to think about. Zach smiled at his sister's determination. You're right. Columbia first, changing the airline industry second. They laughed together as they entered the hotel, trying to focus on the excitement of visiting their dream school tomorrow. But both knew that their simple college visit had turned into something much more complicated. The next morning, Zoe and Zach woke up early for their campus tour at Columbia University. They dressed nicely, Zach in dark blue pants and a button-up shirt, Zoe in a simple dress with a light jacket. They wanted to make a good impression. After a quick breakfast at the hotel, they took a taxi to the university. The beautiful campus spread out before them with its old buildings and green spaces. Students walked quickly between classes, carrying books and backpacks. This is it, Zoe said, looking around with excitement. Our future home, maybe. They joined a small group of other high school students and parents waiting for the tour to begin. A friendly student named Maria came to lead their group. She was a junior studying history and seemed to love her school. Welcome to Columbia, Maria said with a big smile. We're so glad you're considering joining us next year. Let me show you what makes this place special. For the next 2 hours, the twins forgot about their airport troubles. They walked through libraries with thousands of books. They saw classrooms where famous professors taught. They visited the student center where people studied and talked. And here's our science building, Maria said as they entered a large modern structure. Columbia is known for great research opportunities even for undergrads. Zach, who loved science, asked many questions. Zoe, more interested in writing, was excited to see the English department. After the tour, they had interviews with admissions officers. These were important meetings that could help decide if they would be accepted to the school. Zoe went first. Her interviewer was a kind woman named Dr. Lewis. So, Zoe, Dr. Lewis said after they sat down, tell me why Columbia is your first choice. Zoe talked about the strong writing program and how she wanted to become a journalist. She mentioned the school newspaper and how she hoped to work there. Your grades and activities are very impressive, Dr. Lewis said. Is there anything else you want me to know about you? Zoe thought about mentioning what had happened at the airport but decided against it. She wanted to be accepted for her achievements, not because her story might make the school look good. Just that I'm ready to work hard and contribute to the Columbia community, she said instead. Zach's interview went similarly well. His interviewer, Dr. Rivera, seemed impressed by his science projects and leadership activities. By afternoon, the twins were tired but happy. They felt good about their chances of being accepted. I really love it here, Zach said as they walked through the campus one more time. Me too, Zoe agreed. It feels right. They found a small cafe near campus for a late lunch. As they ate, Zach's phone rang. It was their father. How did the tour and interviews go? Marcus asked when Zach answered. Great, Zach said, putting the phone on speaker so Zoe could hear. We both really like it here. Good, Marcus said. Listen, kids, there's something you should know. The story about what happened to you at the airport is starting to spread. More reporters have been calling me. The twins looked at each other with concern. What are you telling them? Zoe asked. Nothing yet, Marcus said. But I think we need to control this story before it gets out of hand. I've been talking with Lisa about the best approach. Lisa Chen, their father's media director, spoke next. Hello, Zoe and Zach. We think the best strategy is to share your experience in a thoughtful way, not to attack the airline, but to start a conversation about how to make things better. What does that mean exactly? Zach asked. It means giving one carefully planned interview to a respected journalist, Lisa explained. Someone who will treat the story with the seriousness it deserves. And we think that journalist should be Tanya Roberts from the New York Times, Marcus added. The same reporter who called you yesterday. The twins were quiet for a moment, thinking about this. Do we have to do it? Zoe finally asked. I'm not sure I want everyone knowing about what happened. You don't have to, Marcus assured them. This is your story, but sometimes sharing difficult experiences can help create change. Would we do the interview together, all three of us? Zach asked. Yes, Marcus said. As a family, I wouldn't ask you to do this alone. Can we think about it? Zoe requested. Of course, Marcus said. Take your time, but not too much time. News moves fast. After they hung up, the twins finished their lunch quietly, each lost in thought. What do you think? Zach finally asked his sister. I don't know, Zoe admitted. Part of me wants to just forget the whole thing happened. But another part of me keeps thinking about what Dad said, about helping others who might face the same thing. Yeah, Zach agreed. I keep thinking about kids who don't have a powerful parent to call. What happens to them? They left the cafe and walked slowly, back toward their hotel. The busy New York streets were filled with people of all backgrounds going about their lives. I think we should do it, Zach said suddenly. The interview, I mean. If it might help change things, even a little. Zoe nodded slowly. I think you're right. It's bigger than just us now. They called their father back and told him their decision. Marcus sounded proud. Thank you, he said. I'll set it up with Tanya for tomorrow morning. You can do the interview before your flight home. That evening, the twins received emails from Tanya Roberts with some questions she planned to ask. She wanted them to feel prepared. She seems nice, Zoe said after reading the email. Not trying to trick us or anything. Dad wouldn't let us talk to her if she wasn't trustworthy, Zach pointed out. They spent some time thinking about how they would answer Tanya's questions. They wanted to be honest but not angry. They wanted to explain how it felt to be treated differently because of how they looked. Meanwhile, back in Denver, Marcus was dealing with the airline. Alan Green, the CEO, had called him 3 times that day, each time sounding more worried. Marcus, I'm hearing rumors that you're going to the New York Times with this story, Alan said during their last call. Is that true? Yes, Alan, it is, Marcus said calmly. My children have decided to share their experience. But we're already working on changes, Alan protested. We've suspended the employees involved. We're planning new training programs. That's good, Marcus said. And you'll have a chance to talk about those changes in the article. Tanya Roberts will be contacting you for a statement. This could really hurt our company, Alan said, his voice tense. It could, Marcus agreed. Or it could show that you're taking responsibility and leading the way on an important issue. It depends on how you respond. After hanging up, Marcus sat at his desk, looking at pictures of his children. He hoped he was doing the right thing. He wanted to protect them, but he also wanted to teach them to stand up for what was right, even when it was difficult. His phone rang again. It was Lisa. "The New York Times has confirmed the interview for tomorrow at 9 a.m., she said. "I've booked a flight for you to New York tonight." "Thank you, Lisa," Marcus said. "Book yourself on that flight too. I want you there for this." "Already done," Lisa replied. "And Marcus, I think you should know that since we started looking into this, 5 more families have contacted us with similar stories about this airline." Marcus shook his head sadly. "Not surprising, but still disappointing. Bring their contact information. I want to include their experiences in our meeting with the airline next week." As night fell over both Denver and New York, the Washington family prepared for what would come next. None of them had planned for their week to turn out this way. But sometimes the most important moments in life are the ones you don't plan for. Marcus arrived in New York late that night. He took a taxi straight to the Twins Hotel and got a room on the same floor. Though he was tired from the day's events, he wanted to check on his children first. He knocked softly on their door. Zach opened it, looking surprised but happy to see his father. "Dad, we didn't know you were coming tonight," he said, giving his father a hug. Zoe jumped up from where she was sitting on the bed and ran to hug Marcus too. "We thought we'd see you in the morning for the interview." "I wanted to be here with you tonight," Marcus explained, entering the room, "to make sure you're both really okay with doing this interview." The twins sat back down on their beds, while Marcus took the chair by the desk. They looked more grown up to him somehow, more serious than they had been just days ago. "We've been talking about it all evening," Zoe said. "We're nervous, but we want to do it." "It feels important," Zach added. "Like we have a chance to help, change something that's wrong." Marcus nodded, feeling proud of his children. "It is important, but I want you to understand that once this story is published, people will recognize you. Some might want to talk to you about it. Others might say unkind things." "Like internet trolls?" Zoe asked. "Yes, like that," Marcus said. "Are you prepared for that possibility?" The twins looked at each other before nodding. "We are," Zach said. "We talked about that too." "Good," Marcus said. "Now tell me about Columbia. How was your visit?" The twins brightened, excitedly telling their father about the beautiful campus, their interviews, and how much they loved the university. For a little while, they were just a father and his children talking about college plans, not the center of a growing news story. After about an hour, Marcus stood up. "You both should get some sleep. Tomorrow will be a busy day." Before leaving, he hugged them both again. "I'm so proud of you two. Not just for your accomplishments, but for your character. Your mother would be proud too." The mention of their mother made the twins smile sadly. She had been gone for 7 years, but they still missed her every day. "Good night, Dad," they said together. The next morning, they all met for breakfast in the hotel restaurant. Lisa Chen joined them, giving the twins warm hugs. "Are you ready for this?" she asked as they ate. "As ready as we'll ever be," Zoe replied, with a small smile. "Remember," Lisa advised, "just tell your story honestly. Don't worry about making anyone look good or bad. Just share what happened and how it made you feel." At 9 o'clock, they met Tanya Roberts in a small meeting room the hotel had provided. Tanya was a tall woman, with kind eyes and a serious manner. She shook hands with each of them. "Thank you for agreeing to this interview," she said. "I think your story is important." She set up a small recorder on the table between them and took out a notebook. "I'll be recording our conversation and taking notes," she explained. "Is that okay with everyone?" They all nodded. "Good," Tanya said. "Let's start at the beginning. Zoe and Zach, can you tell me what happened when you arrived at the Denver airport that morning?" For the next hour, the twins took turns telling their story. They described how they were turned away while other teenagers were allowed to fly. They explained how they felt confused, then frustrated, then hurt as they realized they were being treated differently because of how they looked. Tanya listened carefully, asking questions, but never interrupting their flow. When the twins finished, she turned to Marcus. "Mr. Washington, when did you first realize this might be a case of racial discrimination?" Marcus thought for a moment. "When my children told me they saw other teenagers their age being checked in without any problems. That's when I knew something wasn't right." "And how did you respond?" Marcus explained his conversations with the airline staff and later with the CEO. He talked about his decision to look for other similar cases and his plan to work with the airline on changes. "So you're not just looking for an apology or compensation?" Tanya asked. "No," Marcus said firmly. "What would that solve? This is about changing a system that allows this kind of treatment to happen in the first place." Tanya nodded, making notes. "The airline has provided me with a statement. They apologize for the incident and say they're implementing new training programs. They also mention they've suspended the employees involved pending an investigation." "That's a start," Marcus said, "but it's not enough. We need real change, not just words." "What kind of change are you looking for?" Tanya asked. Marcus leaned forward. "Regular bias training for all employees. Clear, public policies that are applied equally to everyone. An independent review board to handle discrimination complaints. And regular testing to make sure the policies are being followed." "Testing?" Tanya looked interested. "Yes," Marcus explained. "Having people of different races and backgrounds go through the same processes to see if they're treated differently. It's the only way to really know if things are improving." Tanya turned back to the twins. "Zoe, Zach, one last question. What do you hope comes from sharing your story?" The twins looked at each other, silently deciding who would answer. Zoe spoke first. "I hope it makes people think about how they treat others," she said. "And I hope it helps other kids who might go through the same thing but don't have someone powerful to call." "I hope it creates real change," Zach added. "Not just at this one airline, but everywhere. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect, no matter what they look like." After the interview ended and Tanya left, the family sat quietly for a moment. "You did great," Lisa told the twins. "Really great." "When will the article be published?" Zach asked. "Probably in the next day or two," Lisa said. "Tanya will let us know." They had a few hours before the twins' flight back to Denver. They decided to spend it walking around Central Park, enjoying the beautiful day and each other's company. As they walked, Marcus got a call from Alan Green, the airline CEO. "Marcus, I just finished my interview with the New York Times," Alan said, sounding worried. "This is going to be a big story, isn't it?" "Yes, Alan, it is," Marcus replied. "But it can also be a story about positive change. It's up to you." "I want to meet with you as soon as possible," Alan said, "to discuss your ideas for changes at the airline. I'm serious about fixing this." "Good," Marcus said. "My office, Monday morning. And Alan, bring your head of training and your diversity officer. This is going to take real commitment." After hanging up, Marcus smiled at his children. "I think we might actually see some real changes come from this." 2 days later, the story appeared on the front page of the New York Times. The headline read, "Black Twins Denied Boarding. CEO Father Pushes for Industry-Wide Changes." The article told the twins' story but went beyond that. It looked at patterns of discrimination across the airline industry. It included stories from other families who had faced similar treatment, and it highlighted the changes the airline was now promising to make. The response was immediate. Other major news outlets picked up the story. Social media exploded with people sharing their own experiences, and other airlines began announcing reviews of their own policies. 3 weeks later, Marcus sat in his office with Zoe and Zach. On his desk was a large envelope from Columbia University. "It came today," he told them. "One for each of you." The twins looked at the envelopes nervously. These would tell them if they had been accepted to their dream school. "Open them together?" Zoe suggested. Zach nodded. They each took an envelope and carefully opened it. "Dear Ms. Washington, we are pleased to inform you." Zoe began reading, her voice rising with excitement. "Dear Mr. Washington, we are pleased to inform you." Zach read at the same time. They had both been accepted. They jumped up, hugging each other and then their father, who beamed with pride. "Congratulations," he said. "You both earned this." As they celebrated, Marcus's phone rang. It was Lisa. "Marcus, the airline just announced their new policies," she said excitedly. "They're doing everything we asked for, and 3 other major airlines are following their lead." Marcus smiled as he looked at his children, still dancing around the office with their acceptance letters. "That's great news, Lisa," he said. "Real change is happening." When he hung up, Zoe asked, "Good news?" Marcus nodded. "The best. It looks like what happened to you is going to help a lot of other people." The twins smiled, understanding that their difficult experience had led to something important, something that would make travel fairer and more respectful for everyone. "So," Marcus said, "Columbia University next year. Are you two ready for that adventure?" "More than ready," they said together, looking toward their future with hope and determination.